The EOE ship has sailed. Where did it go? Hi guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the psychic puppetry himself, Reese.
Hello.
Before we start, do not forget to rate us 5 stars on Spotify, and of course, like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter, or X, at Casting Commons 1 for the most recent Pauper deck lists, and join our Discord to submit hot takes, be part of giveaways, and talk to us about Pauper. Boom. Nailed it. So I guess, just want to touch on, first of all, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I got to play some EOE Limited this week, which was sweet. Obviously we're going to recollect this weekend as well, which is I'm looking forward to. I have not decided what I'm playing, but I'm sure I'll pick some at random at some point.
I'm sure you'll play one of the two decks you always end up deciding on.
Maybe. It might be mono red. It might also be elves. And I just got the new card for mono black sack as well, and that was sweet. So that was sort of in the conversation as well.
Yeah, cards are pretty good. I actually got Infinity today, to be fair, by the sack in mono black sack. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It is a cool card.
It's legit.
Very much so. But they also couldn't math. It makes the math really hard for some people.
It makes the math awful.
I was like, I'm pretty certain I could die here normally without it. And then they were like, they basically like stammered that guy up. And it's like, not that was incorrect, but they sacked everything in the wrong order. I'm like, you could have literally just maxed out on triggers here, be sacking like 5 or 6 things and keep it all. But you didn't. Yeah.
If you have stamina plus the pedigree guy, it does go a bit bananas with the sack outlet, obviously. It goes off the wall like.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet deck for sure. We just want to touch on a very sort of quickish Pauper thought of the week, and it's more just around the immediate impact of Edge of Eternities. So for those that don't know, Edge of Eternities is out. If you've been living under a rock, and it sort of was okay impact last week, right? We had one challenge that was massively impacted. We had a win with one of the new cards being the Illivoy Galeblade for Mono Blue Fairies. We had like a Muda playing the blue-black Abjure affinity list with Cryogen Relic and Hard Evidence, which was sweet. It sort of like almost just fell off a cliff, or the aliens have landed and went, nah, fuck this shit, I'm leaving. And just gone.
I think as we'll get onto with the top 8, it obviously is a bit like not present for those. But it's a weird one because all the cards still seem like very good, and like the decks that we've seen them in already, like they seem to work very well in. But other than really the Galeblade, which was sort of the obvious, this goes in fair. Everyone who's ever played Pauper looked at it and went, okay, this goes in fair. Everything else like doesn't really just fit into decks that easy. Even the Cryogen Relic, which I think is fairly clearly the most powerful card in the set for Pauper. It's come at a time where Affinity is basically the worst it's ever been in probably like the existence of the format. Which is an interesting thing to say, because obviously Affinity has always been basically one of, if not the best deck in the format. Usually like top 3. But now I would say it's like verging out of the top 5 decks of the format. So I think if it had come at a different time, like if Affinity had still been the top deck and Cryogen Relic had come out, we would see that card a lot more in top 8, because there'd be a lot more people still on the deck. And I think for me, that's sort of the case with a lot of the cards, is the shift to them is slow, because they don't really go in the decks that are the best decks right now. For the like Madness Burn, Mono Blue Terror, High Tide, etc. Like got no tools out of it at all. So we're just not seeing like that development as much.
Yeah, I also think though, like as well, there's for Affinity, the people who are playing Affinity for an example, that it's not necessarily clear to people that it's the best thing to be running. Because obviously it isn't free. Like, don't get me wrong, it is good in Affinity in that sense. But it's not free. It does have colour requirements. Them colour requirements could be a downside if you are red, black, splashing blue, which the original pre-lists, I would say, were leaning towards that.
Yeah.
So you, even when you have got Affinity, they don't necessarily are playing Cryogen Relic. And you have got, obviously, other decks where it fits in. You've got Flickertron where it fits in, and we've seen lists that obviously just run 4 Flickers, 4 Cryogens, no Mull Drifter, etc. We've seen FAMs playing Cryogen Relic and maxing out on Gosu Flicker. Like, because it is just a 2-mana Mull Drifter at that point. Which is cool, but the complexity of the cards that have come out, like even like Cryogen Relic, it's not clear on where they, as you say, there's no clear deck for this to just slot right in. It is, like, we have heard, and also ourselves have made it comparable to the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. And obviously the Cryogen Relic is like sort of a lean on sort of experimental synthesizer. Synthesizer went straight into mono red, like straight on the get-go. And then after that, the rest of the stuff, as you said, just doesn't go anywhere. Like, it took a while for Boros Synth, Mardu Synth, Black-White, all these decks, sorry, not Black-White, but, you know, all these red X Skyfisher piles to fit Synth in. And I think it's going to take a while before we see any cards make a massive impact from EOE. I would also argue people might even, because they are that complex, people might even give up before figuring out and just carry on with the normal stuff. And that's not to say that these are bad cards, because they're clearly not. There's a lot of cool cards. Like, even have like cool ones like Gene Pollinator is a cool one, which goes under the radar, which is like a Springleaf Drum that taps permanence. Like, people can tap Utopia Sprawls, you can tap Rancors. Like, these things are, like, I know it sounds silly, but those are actual things where the tapping a creature down loses your speed. Tapping the Rancor the creature's on does not.
Yeah.
Like, and that card in itself, it's like, what the fuck does a shell look like for Gene Pollinator?
Yeah, where does it go?
Exactly. So, and that's just two cards.
Again, like, as you touched on, the decks that are utilising these cards, like Flickertron and Familiars and stuff like that, again, are just not, like, they're not the top part of the metagame. No. They're like the fringe decks. Yeah. Interesting one. I feel like we're going to talk about these top 8s, and it looks like EOE basically hasn't come out.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a want to sit on, like, it'll come eventually.
And I think that's sort of like why we've sort of had this pop of thought, because the set looks really good and the power level is there, but it's just none of these cards are free. They all have deck building constraints and, you know, build around. They're all very good build around cards. So because of that, it will take time. So yeah, I think it's a good pop of thought of the week to, like, not be so doom and gloom. Oh my god, EOE's like just dead. It's like, you know, it's Bloomburrow. It doesn't have any, you know, it's got nothing. Where I don't think that's the case, for sure.
Yeah, I think obviously Magic Online and the challenges as well are a part to play in that, because it's like essentially the ultimate test that we've got for Pauper outside of Pauper again. Because we are, like, in paper tournaments, we are seeing, like, these cards break through. Like, there's the, forgive my pronunciation, but the Fugetti League 236. Which was like nearly a 50-player event, and Blue-White Affinity won with Lux Night Breaches and Cryogen Relics in. And then Mono Black Sack come second with the Pedigree Beckoners in. So we are seeing, like, these cards get up there, but just not as much in challenges yet, or not in this challenge set. Yeah.
But I think it'll take time, as we've said. So I'm pretty excited for EOE, and I've still got loads of stuff. Like, I'm having a real problem like, I think of decks, like, throughout the day randomly. I'm like, oh, that's a cool deck. I'll try it with this interaction. And then I'm doing something like at work or whatever, and I'm like, by the time I get to remember, what was that deck I need to try? I forgot it. Like, I've come to build a deck 3 days later because it's come back into my head. Because there's so many different cool things to try and so many cool interactions, like, even with 1 or 2 cards. which is pretty sweet. It is a sweet set for sure. So don't give up hope.
No. Not yet.
Not yet. Anything else to add about the Pauper Thought of the Week?
No, I'm happy to move on.
So guys, just a quick one. Do not forget to join the Discord. There's card market credit and player points up for grabs in giveaways. Not only through listening to this and obviously submitting hot takes. I do put random giveaways in and out and around when I remember because I'm really bad for it. But we will have a draw, I think, next week, right? It'll be a good time. Yeah, so we'll do a giveaway next week, which will include the 2 hot takes for next week as well. So please join the Discord, give some hot takes in the hot takes tab, and obviously if yours get picked out, we'll put you into the sort of raffle for giveaways for card market credit and also player points. A winner for each. So please do join the Discord. And then moving on to some tournament news. The 2 things I do want to... We've taken 2 off the list that were fired this week. We aren't covering those. We don't have deck lists for them. No one sent us them anyways. Not to say that they're not out. We roughly know what top 8 and what did well in them. But don't have deck lists. The Upstate Pauper Open in New York fired with 69 people. That's a... Nice. Hey. Which was obviously incredible to see. Also, the Common Clash in Firestorm Games fired as well. I believe that was with 29 people, which is pretty insane because that was just an pretty off-the-cuff event as well. So awesome to see. And then moving on to some looking forward to some events. Obviously, this weekend, there is our friends at Recollect in Chester are hosting a Pauper event, 16th of August, £15 entry. First place gets a Future Sight foil. Snuff out other prizes based on attendance. We will be there. So, of course, come say hi. We'll wave like this as well. Well, Reese might. I won't. Other events. The September the 20th event. Obviously a really good date as well. No one will understand why, but it's a really great date. In Labryrinthe in Chislehurst. Have I said that right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Has a 64 Pauper player event. The link is in the description. I don't know much about this other than the links in the description. It's also, we have a Discord, which have events to shout out. You can click the links in there as well so to see for yourself, which is great. And the final event, 25th of October in Leipzig. The Pauper to the People have been running events throughout the year, and this is sort of like the penultimate event. There's a 128 player cap Pauper event, which will be the biggest Pauper tournament in Germany that we know of. This will be held at Conne Island and will be €20. The event link, again, is in the description and the Discord. All these reasons to join the Discord. Just keep joining. Come on. Come to us. You can talk crap about Pauper to us. Anyways, anything else to add before we cover the 3 challenges of the week? Or the weekend?
Good go.
Fire away.
So the Friday the 8th of August challenge, 61 players, which is really solid numbers for a Friday. First place was Spy Walls, second was Jund Wildfire, third was Mono Blue Terror, and fourth was Mono Red Madness. Fifth was High Tide, sixth was another copy of Spy Walls, and then seventh and eighth were both also copies of High Tide. And then the 2 near misses, ninth was Dredge, and 10th was Snacker Terror.
Where would you like...
mute myself while I cough.
Where would you like to start?
I think it's an interesting one because the top 5 of that basically challenge with Spy Walls, Jund Wildfire, Mono Blue Terror, Mono Red Madness, and High Tide are probably in contention for just the top 5 decks in Pauper at the moment.
Yeah,
it's quite funny to see them all just like listed one after the other. I guess that the elephant in the room is that's probably the most High Tide we've seen in a top 8 yet.
Yeah, I'd say so.
With triple copies. Obviously all gone out before the finals and the semi-finals. But still, High Tide is a legit deck. There's obviously a lot of calls that it's too good or not fun. Yeah, but it's here.
I think who did Mick? Sorry, I'm just checking something just for the So the fifth place, Mick Harther in 1984. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name. They were against Blaze, who was the Jund Wildfire pilot, and Jund Wildfire came out on top. And I'm looking at the Jund Wildfire list. They are more high tide prepared than most. They've gotten rid of the Crackland toxin in their 75 completely. They're not running any Cracklands or toxins. They're only using breath weapons, and they're in the sideboard. But there's 3 Duresses in the main, so that kind of makes you could sort of make sense of it. It's like, oh, okay, you've got Duress, you can sort of cheese some wins out. But other than that, I wouldn't say the matchup's very good.
There's also 4 Pyroblasts in the sideboard, which you don't really see from Jund Wildfire.
Yeah.
Which is a big sticker.
So, again, I guess it could beat it out with potentially the 7 cards-ish.
I think you can definitely get a game just by Pyroblasting out of Jund Wildfire, because it basically never plays Pyroblast.
Yeah.
But also High Tide is one of those decks that can just lose to itself, but especially on Magic Online by timing out. Which is definitely not unheard of in Challenge Top 8s.
Yeah. It was a 2-0 as well, clean win for Blaze, so it's pretty interesting there. I'm surprised it managed to get the whole 2 straight, especially both one pre-board and post-board.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. Yeah. So the impossible is possible. Was one big sticker for me there. I was thinking, how is Jund Wildfire become second from that? I was like, I must have dodged all the High Tide in the top 8, but clearly when you look at it didn't.
Yeah, and I think the addition of those Pyroblasts as well with the Duresses main, it's an actual consideration to beating that deck, rather than normally what they do is just hope to never face it.
Mm-hmm. But again, leading on, I don't know why I'm following this person's journey through the top 8, but then also through their next opponent was Blavuki, or however, I'm going to say Blucky, because it's kind of like a U, but it's actually a V. I don't know how you're going to pronounce that, but I apologise. But they're on Mono Red Madness. Again, another, I would say, pretty bad matchup for Jund Wildfire generally. But again, the change of no Toxin and Crackland into Duress is definitely a solid way, and also 3 spell bombs in the main as well, is probably a clean way to be able to take that down in a game 1. So
yeah, they've also obviously got a single pulse main, and then another pulse in the side along with 4 weathers. So they're definitely prepared for that matchup as well, more than other Jund Wildfires. Usually, you look at a Jund Wildfire sideboard and it just looks underprepared for everything, basically.
Yeah.
This definitely looks more like it was, I need stuff for these High Tide and Terra matchups, and I need stuff for the Mono Red matchup.
Yeah, I think to me, the big thing that shines for me there is the Duresses. For me, at the Wildfire matchups, whenever I've played from the Mono Red Madness side, is you just have inevitability from the Madness player, the Mono Red player.
Yeah.
But being able to Duress and force them to somewhat react means that you can get a weather as opposed to the other way around. Usually they end up weathering and then you kill them in response, but it kind of doesn't end up playing out like that if you're forcing the hand with a Duress, which is quite interesting. And as well with a pulse as well, as you also mentioned. So
yeah,
which is
I do strangely like this Jund Wildfire list, which is something I never thought I'd say. Normally we're pretty adverse to the deck. Yeah, but this looks like a really good take on it.
Yeah, kudos to them.
Other than that, stuff that really stood out was sort of few and far between for me. The only other thing I've noted is the Dredge list in 9th, obviously piloted by Marzaboi. Back on the holdout settlement plan, a couple of colonies in the main as well. Full 4 Naught of the Bones in the main, which is pretty telling. And then still on the momentary blink plan, but in the side, so 3 momentary blinks in the side. Also a pretty interesting one with 3 Death Spark also in the side, which is something I haven't seen in a while. Which is basically if you have that card in your graveyard with a creature above it, you can pay 1 in your upkeep and put it back in your hand. And it's a red for a instant that deals 1 damage to a creature or player.
It's a pretty cool one. Also, if you are curious, Marzaboi does make content on YouTube as well, sporadically. And they did a video quite recently explaining their list and their choices of why they've got to this mana base, why they've got to hold out, why Blink's in the sideboard. Literally, like, went through in detail everything. And the main card that's missing is there's no Exhumes.
Yeah.
And the big thing was that effectively the card's just not good anymore, especially into Spy, into all this sort of stuff.
The free win isn't really fast enough anymore.
Nah.
Even with a troll.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting on turn 2 and then you're needing, 4 attacks with it pretty much.
Yep.
To get there.
So it was a really good YouTube video, and I would highly recommend. If I remember, I will try and remember. I will put it in the link in the show notes, because it is a really. If anyone has seen Marzaboi's brain working on Dredge, it is an incredible thing. This man was built to understand Dredge to leagues that people aren't, and a lot. He goes into detail about it all. So I highly recommend watching that video to explain all of this for us mere mortals who can't dissect it as that greater detail, for sure. But it is sweet. I do know that they did say if they had the option and could afford to, they would run 4 Colony Garden, because it's the best card in the deck, which makes sense, but also surprised me at the same time. Which is pretty sweet. Always love me some plants.
Any other decks you want to touch on for this Friday?
Not really. I just want to mention that there's this isn't the first time that, like a Pharaoh, in 8th place playing High Tide. It seems to be becoming quite commonplace to play Augur in the sideboard, which is pretty interesting. It's like a sort of like stem the bleeding sort of card, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just become more commonplace.
So obviously if you're in a matchup where you want to bring snaps in as well, because you want to be blocking creatures, it sort of gives the snaps a bit of extra value. Like if they don't have creatures, you can still, or if you just need a combo and draw cards, you can snap your Augur and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Is pretty handy.
Yep. So sweet to see. And also the uptick it seems to be in envelopes, in sideboards, both in Discover End sideboard, changed up 2 gut shots or whatever it was to 2 envelopes.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one out of Terra to sort of want enveloping. I guess there is like quite a lot of powerful sorceries going on right now. Especially like if you want to play more cards against the mono red Madness burn, I would sort of feel like Envelop's probably better than Dispel in that matchup, because it counters the stuff that you actually care about rather than just like the random burn spells. Obviously in High Tide, you're basically just countering the card draw, which is not nothing. And then I guess spy wise, you've got the Dredge Returns, and even the Leader Stampedes, Wine and Ways you can counter as well. So it just seems like the shift from Dispel being good to maybe Envelop being good is starting.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Card seems to be pretty good right now. And it follows a lot more of the game plans as well of most of these decks like Terra and High Tide than it does like Fairy Macabre does, which is quite nice. So it definitely has a better shift for if you do want Spy Hate. And doubles up against other decks, like as you mentioned.
Yeah, it's going to be an instant in your it's going to be an instant in your graveyard, isn't it? Rather than Fairy Macabre, which basically does nothing unless you draw it. Moving on to the Saturday.
Yeah, very well.
So the Saturday, the 9th of August, only 39 players, but it's a Saturday. They're usually sort of the week of challenges. First place, Mono Blue Terra. Second place, Blue Black Terra. Third and fourth, Elves. Fifth, High Tide. Sixth, Jump Wildfire. Seventh, Affinity. 8th, Mono Blue Fate, and then the 2 near misses, Blue Red Fate and Ponza in 10th. Actual Ponza in 10th.
Actual factual Ponza. Of course it was Ixodor, just to...
I guess starting off in first, Discover N is back in first this time rather than third.
Yep.
basically just the exact same list. Still with the envelops in the side. I guess the sort of first standout other than that for me is the both elves list have gone back to the multicolored like Birchlaw plan. Basically both just for Hydroblasts and then Mesfiends out of one and Envelops out of the other. So not a huge amount of cards. What is it? 7. I guess one's gone a bit further, hasn't it? The sideboard's like a lot wilder. The fourth place one is literally just for Hydroblasts and 2 Envelops, right?
And an Akiba gang.
Oh yeah, 1 Akiba. Nothing in the main, no melodies or anything.
No.
But one Tangled Islet, which I quite like in the board to bring in so you can get it with your end. I do find that's sort of the worst bit about this multicolored elf plan is basically you've got 8 sources of blue, and if you don't draw them, the blue cards just sit and rot in your hand. Interestingly as well, the Elvish Mystic slot, there's actually 2 Arbor Elves in it. I'm assuming maybe to take advantage of that Tangled Islet, it gives you the option to fetch it and then untap it on the same turn. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet change, to be honest.
And it's not too dissimilar, really, to an Elvish Mystic. Obviously, it has its own downsides if you're sort of getting rid of your only forest to untap it, but providing you've got at least 1 forest, it's good enough.
Yeah, it does as you say, it does provide awkward points with like querying and stuff like that, right? Because it's not a mana ability because you're untapping a forest. Like you can get like these awkward interaction points where your opponent can respond, but you can't untap it again with your querying and stuff like that because you're bouncing the forest. And like it's pretty close like most of the time, but it does have these like weird awkward points for sure.
And then the third place list has gone a lot deeper on the sideboard. It's still got the Hydroblasts, but then it's basically went in on a full multicolored sideboard with Crimson Acolytes, Standard Bearers, Mesfiends, Fairy Macabres, which I guess sort of isn't a colour, but and then 2 Fang Dragons. But they've also went down the route of adding extra sources, I guess, of that colour. Instead of Tangled Islet to fetch an Arbor Elf, they've actually got 2 Sentinel Stalwart, which is essentially Jespera Sentinels, but a 1/1. It can tap artifacts as well, but obviously this deck doesn't play any artifacts.
Well, it's, I guess, technically not irrelevant, because it can tap the food off a Generous End.
yeah, true. I guess, yeah. But it is actually an elf as well, which is sort of a standout. The other options in that sort of slot are basically all not elves. But yeah, it seems again like a reasonable option. The biggest downside with these multicolored sideboard cards in elves is just being able to cast them.
Yeah.
It always seems like quite a task, and so adding more mana sources that can produce that mana just seems pretty legit.
Yeah, definitely. This is why they need the Gene Pollinator, but an elf, so they can tap the Nyx-born Hydras when they're bestowed onto something, I don't know. But yeah, interestingly enough, the third place list is only on 3 Timberwatch Elves.
Yeah.
But they are running Elvish Vanguard as well.
Yeah, they've got 3 Vanguards.
So it sort of makes up for it, I guess. Again, 5th place, shout out to Like a Pharaoh with the High Tide top 8 again. Literally, I think it looks like the same list. 3 Augurs, 4 Snaps in the side, 15 Snow-Covered Islands, run 3 Rootrue Mists. They were the triggers I was looking for while looking on. Yeah. Is that Blaze again with another top 8 as well? With Jump Wildfire?
Yeah. To be fair, this top 8 is very, very similar to the Friday in terms of players, which is quite cool to see. The 7th place Grixis affinity list from Mogged as well is a sweet one. We have actually got Edge of Eternities cards. I forgot the name there. Edge of Eternities cards in the top 8, which is good. 3 Cryogen Relic in the Affinity list. Other than that, sort of fairly straight up Grixis Divinity. There's 2 chromatic stars. I know Mog usually plays quite a few of those, so I'm assuming that's maybe where some of the spaces come from.
Yeah.
And then they're on just 1 fanatical offering, but 4 Reckoner's bargains as well.
Yeah, I really do like I do hope Crygen Relic sticks, because I really like this shift of 4 Thoughtcasts, 4 bargains, and then like they're the main 2 draw spells, and then you occasionally run something else, which is a lot better than what it used to be with the like 4 Deadly Dispute, 4 bargain, 2 Thoughtcast. Yeah, I prefer that sort of build, especially with Rebuke coming back to in Mog's list. Pretty sweet.
And then the only final thing really that I wanted to touch on was the 8th place Fair list.
Mm-hmm.
Has no new card in.
Mm.
Interestingly, it's just sort of back to old style on a blue Fair. So maybe it isn't the truth. Maybe it is actually not good enough.
Yeah, maybe. They have got 5 Humbling Elder effects, right? They're playing 4 Humbling Elders and 1 Brine Barrow Intruder.
Yeah.
So the Flash clearly is the truth, but they decided they wanted the actual human ones. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I think about it. I do like the more Flash style, to be fair, but as I say, we're only, 2 weeks in now? Is this?
Yeah.
Why does it feel like it's been out for like ever? And yeah, maybe it just takes time for people to come around. Maybe mono blue Fair players are as stubborn as the white weenie players. I don't know. But yeah. Also mismatched islands. What are you playing, High Tide? I guess you could be bluffing High Tide. Oh.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that. Big brain moves. Sorry, that just dawned on me there.
Is there any other decks you want to touch on in this? You have to move on.
Just want to shout out, obviously, the 9th place, Blue Red Fair. Pretty sweet to see. Obviously, Blue Red Fair sort of like flickers in and out, pun not intended. And it's I would say it's not a normal build. It's got like the numbers are weird from, I think, was it last week we were talking about it, or the week before, where it sort of made an appearance where it had 4 miscreants and then 2 seers, as opposed to usually being only 3-ish seers, 3 to 4 seers and no miscreants. So it's more sort of leaning on a mono blue sort of Fair with that sort of tweak on playing removal spells. But other than that, there's nothing too interesting. I think we sort of covered. I think it was probably the same pilot, to be fair. But yeah, it's always nice to see that Blue Red Fair. I don't know why. I don't like Blue Black Fair. I think mono blue Fair is very egregious, but Blue Red Fair just makes me happy. I don't know why.
The sweet spot.
It's the sweet spot. Yeah.
Moving on to the Sunday then. Sunday the 10th of August. 67 players, so another really good size Sunday challenge. First place, Mono Blue Terror. Second place, Mono Green Elves. Third place, Spy Walls. Fourth place, Mono Blue Terror. Fifth place, Mono Red Madness. 6th and 7th, both copies of Mono Blue Terror. And 8th, another copy of Mono Red Madness. And then the 2 near misses, 9th was also Mono Red Madness. And 10th was Mono Green Elves. The mono color challenge, I guess, is this one. There's basically Spy Walls is not monocolored. And then, yeah, just Terror, Madness, and Elves in the top 10. Obviously, first place, Discover N, once again, utilising their Modo Premium to just absolutely dominate with Mono Blue Terror. Still on the same list, still with the envelopes in the sideboard. The good shots looking pretty good in this top 8 for sure.
Yes.
I guess elf-wise, there's sort of not a huge amount standing out from the mono green build. The second place has a Singleton You Meeting a Tavern, which is a card that sort of, when it initially came out, was pretty hyped and then didn't really find its place in the elf deck. It's sort of been like occasionally there as a 1 or 2 of, then sometimes in like red green ramp decks as a 1 or 2 of. Only a 1 of here, so still not really finding its place.
Yeah, I feel like it's a sort of like, if you really feel like you need a 9th lead or wind them where it sort of does its job. you're never happy about playing it because who wants to pay 4 mana for a Leader Stampede? Paying 3 mana already makes you sad. So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then the 10th place Mono Green Elves had a second. You mean it haven't had 2. But it also ran 61 cards, so I'm assuming they just forgot to cut one Yumi at 7.
They didn't run... It's a slightly different list because they didn't run the Avenger Hunter either.
Yeah.
So
It's slightly different.
But yeah, 61 cards. Definitely forgot to cut the Yumi at Tavern for sure.
Yeah, the sideboards for both are actually quite different as well. The second place one is sort of just a more, like, I guess, normal looking elf sideboard with like a couple of long bows, an extra well-wisher, some Nihilis, disciples, the glamours, some spider cell glamours, which seems pretty solid right now. And then 3 heritage reclamation, which I've sort of been liking the look of in elf sideboards. You always feel like you're running out of slots, so having a card that is basically useful in a lot of matchups doesn't seem the worst. But then the 10th place list has basically just gone like a committed sideboard. So there's 3 Deglammers, 4 Vitugazi Inspector, 4 Fairy Macabres, and then 4 Thermocast, of all things. I'm not really sure what. Maybe even the Spy matchup, I guess, just to like dome the lands out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
kill the black source and they're gonna never cast the Spy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I would probably say, like, if I was to lean towards it, it would probably be High Tide, right?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It seems pretty legitimate in the High Tide matchup.
Like,
give you an extra turn.
Yeah.
You can basically cast it on turn 2, like Bonza.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It is interesting. You obviously have the Fairy Macabres for Spy, so... And I think after that, you're sort of just a better deck, right? If you can answer Spy, it's... You're not too bothered.
Yeah, I don't hate that actually as a bit of a High Tide tool.
Yeah, I've said when I've said like on Reddit or all sorts of different places. To be fair, every color does have interaction for High Tide, albeit they're not great. But I wouldn't be surprised if Thermocast is a reasonable answer in Elves because it is just a nicer matchup.
Yeah, High Tide wasn't far away as well. There was like a Pharaoh in 11th. So only just missing out on top 8 again, or top 10 again. And then there was a one in 13th as well. So it was there or thereabouts. Other than that, the Mono Red Madness decks, I believe at least one of them was spicy, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was the 9th place, was it? Yeah, the 9th place one. Runs 4 Rite of Flame.
Gone full combo.
Yeah, full balls to the walls. I believe it's basically just like the Epicure cut slot. It still runs darts, lightning bolts, tempers. It's cut down. Well, it's got 3 fire blasts, so that sort of is debatable whether it should be 4 or 3 anyway. And then it's cut a flame breather. I'm guessing again for the extra space for the Rite of Flame, but it does run 4 gut snipe.
Yeah, it's definitely went full combo, right? Obviously, just try to speed out the gutter snipes and, all that sort of good stuff, which is interesting way of taking it. Obviously, it's a card that you probably don't mind discarding if you've got multiple.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's almost like a snacker or fiery temper, like a discardable card, because if you've got 2, you don't really lose that much from discarding 1. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The other mono red lists were basically just stock, the 4 Epicure versions.
Yeah, I'm really interested. I feel I'm really liking the fact that I think Mono Red Madness is doing the rounds definitely in challenges, but then in leagues and things like that, it seems to be Rally Red's like the red deck of choice, which is quite interesting how like different that's sort of going around for sure. But
other than that, there wasn't really much that stood out. GN came forth, but not on FAMs, so that was sad. obviously good for him to come forth, but he wasn't playing FAMs, he was playing Mono Blue Terror. And I think basically just discover End's exact list, which seems like a very sensible thing to do. Actually, I think he has one extra dispel.
Yeah, I think
it is. So it's slightly different. But other than that, basically the same.
Yeah, there's an extra sleep in the side as well. But I haven't really figured out what for. 4, 4, 3. Oh, Blue Elemental Blast. Fair enough. Really?
Any comments on the spy list? I guess the only non-monocolored deck.
There's nothing too out there, right? These are all things that are working within the sort of spy space. You know, they're on 4 lands, 3 forest, 1 swamp. They're on 3 petals. I guess they are on a mix of 3 petals, 2 Axebanes, and 3 Wall Roots, which we were talking about last week. How they're like sort of the way
those are the flex cards.
Yeah, and they've sort of managed to squeeze all of them in.
Yeah, I think 4 lands now is basically set right. It seems like the most common number. But yeah, the Petal Axebane Wall Roots debate clearly is still going on because this one's got all of them in.
Yeah, I don't know where I'd sat. I guess they've went less on Gatecreeper Vine, which I guess when you have 4 lands, that's probably okay, right? You don't need that many site searches. Yeah.
And I guess Axebane makes your backup plan better anyway. So even if you're struggling to get that last land, you can be like pumping guys out a bit easier, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I really do find Wall Spy interesting because it looks like a great spy deck, which is obviously great, but its backup plan just looks so bad. Yeah, but obviously doing well. I'd be intrigued to see how often people just are not prepared for spy or something. I don't know unless
I think it's just quite hard to interact with right now. Like the way it lines up with the decks that are playable.
Yeah.
Like Elves just basically has no interaction for them. Madness, the 4 toughness of the Overgrown Battlement is awkward, so the backup plan is actually like fairly legit.
Yeah.
And you've just got a lot of like random stuff that can gain life, as well as like Mez Fiends and stuff as well. So you sort of have time built in, I guess. Mono Blue Terror, like again, your backup plan is fairly legit because you just play random dorks and they can either trump or become bigger than terrors, like Generous Ends and stuff like that. So it just seems like even if it's not the best backup plan, it's sort of positioned in a way that just fits really well with what's being played at the moment.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting because then obviously at that point, all you're bothered about is your 2-mana guy surviving. Either your Wall Roots or your Overgrown Battlements, which is pretty interesting. Because, yeah.
And I guess, like, if you looked at it in a different way, like, if the red deck of choice was maybe Kuldotha still, you'd maybe see this backup plan look a bit worse because they have a lot more outs to just burn stuff off. They're attacking a lot more, so you maybe need a block and then your guy gets bolted. Whereas obviously Madness is just never attacking, so you never got a damage on your Overgrown Battlements.
Yeah.
And then obviously they've got Galv Blasts as well, which just tied it up nicely.
Pretty interesting, for sure.
I'm assuming like it's sort of weirdest matchup is maybe High Tide, right? Because you sort of just do your own thing and they sort of just do their own thing.
Yeah, I'd like to say if you're functioning though, like I would say it's probably not the worst, right? If you need if you need time, you've got Mez Fiends.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're also only on 4 lands, so it's quite easy to get them out of your deck. But you are only on 3 Quirions, so the craziness is sort of limited, right? Pretty interesting. I really do like the evolution of Wall Spy for sure. I guess the thing for me is the sideboard pilfers. I guess they just catch-alls, right? But
it's sort of like, that Heritage Reclamation slot. It's maybe a bit slightly more defined, but in a deck that's trying to combo off, basically being able to look for counterspells or like bringing them in that High Tide matchup, for example, just as a bit of interaction to give you a bit more time.
Yeah, Especially when you can't have more Mez Fiends when you've got the maximum amount.
Yeah.
Makes sense, really. But pretty sweet. Yeah, I think the deck's pretty good. It's just pretty interesting, like how it does so well when its backup plan's really bad. But as you say, it's obviously just how it lines up to certain things. I get obviously from an Elves spy perspective, like obviously Generous End does a lot of work, so does Sagu and all that sort of stuff. But pretty interesting for sure.
Moving on to hot takes from last week.
Yeah. Where will we stand? I guess we're tracking 2, right? Well, yeah, we're tracking 2 listeners and then tracking one of your own for the announcement.
Yes, obviously there's not been another PFP announcement, so High Tide is still here for now.
Mm-hmm.
It will probably be still here after the announcement, but we'll see when we get one. Do we know who won the New York Upstate Popper Open?
I don't know who won it directly, but I do know that I don't think High Tide was in the list at the top 8 that I got sent.
Because that was a hot take from Jack that High Tide would take down that event, which would be pretty decent. 69-player event for a High Tide win.
I'm just trying to find it. Go on, carry on, sorry.
The other listener hot take was the Esper Flicker would top 8 within a month of EOE. Are we halfway or just over halfway now, and there's no Esper Flickers in the top 8, so that one's looking a bit loose, maybe. And then my hot take was decks with new cards would win multiple challenges. That definitely didn't happen. There was basically no new cards anywhere near most of the top 8s. With, I think, basically the 7th place on the Saturday being the only real standout for new cards, which is a shame.
But we'll get there, don't worry. They'll come out in droves when people figure it out. I think I've got hope. Just to clarify, moving back to the NYPO one, I have the hot take. The top 8 as 2 Corgates, 1 Blue Terror, 1 Rally Red, 1 Fams, 1 Red Green Ram, 1 Elves, and 1 other that they couldn't remember. The person who gave me the top 8. So unless that was High Tide and took down the event, it didn't happen. There we are. But my hot take for last week was that Poison Storm will top 8 next week, but that did not happen. Nobody decided to...
Seemed an odd one.
Nobody was filling full of hope, but didn't seem great into all the High Tide, to be honest. That's for certain. No,
not at all.
Interestingly enough, though, there has been... I know Calicais and myself have recorded a Poison Storm video with Cryogen Relic in, which was pretty sweet. So
yeah, it seems like it could fit pretty well in that, given you put stun counters on with it and then just proliferate them and permanently lock creatures down.
Yeah.
And it draws cards.
Best comparison I had, it was like that Mate Locker, the room, but it fits nicely into the curve, because 3's a really awkward number for that deck, because obviously you want it sort of edges of 2. So yeah, it sort of works out alright, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to hot takes for next week. First.
The first one was from Old Emo Dave, and that was that Cryogen Relic will continue to make no impact worth talking about.
Bold.
I feel like that's already not true, but...
Yeah.
But hopefully we get a blue-white affinity win next week, and we can put a big no to that.
The next one is that Grixis Affinity will top 8, which is from Connor's I'm Dog, or Connor Simdog. Yeah, sure. You know.
I think that seems like sort of edging on doable. We've seen obviously Mog to get there.
Yeah.
The only thing with that is maybe more than normal is people are trying different affinities like blue-black and blue-white, for example.
Yeah.
So you might lose out on the Grixis part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of on the same lines, my hot take for next week is that we get a blue-white affinity top 8. It's been doing pretty well at paper events. There's a couple of paper events where it's won, and like 30 and 50 player events, so doable.
Very much so. My hot take sounds quite doom and gloom actually, but it's not meant to be. Is that next week we'll get a top 8 with 6 High Tides in there.
Hope not.
I'm also the same, but I feel like this is sort of like the Friday was sort of gonna happen because I often feel like people aren't preparing or practicing properly against High Tide or its interaction points or how to beat it. They just go, okay, this card, I'm in this colour, this card interacts with that High Tide, and then they don't know. They don't know what the best interaction point is. They don't know what the best way to tackle it is. All that sort of stuff. Where I feel like the High Tide players who are actually serious about learning High Tide have practiced High Tide, practiced how to play around those interaction points, and they've got better at the hate than the people with the hate have, is basically where I'm... You've seen that with, like, a Pharaoh, literally nearly had 3 out of 3, like, just missed out on breakers on the Sunday. Obviously, we've had Hype, obviously, do really well. We've had, obviously, usually the High Tide players are all the same players, is what I'm trying to say, because they're all really good High Tide players.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm thinking. And it's not that I think High Tide needs banned and it's super broken or whatever. I just think people have took their time to learn the deck and they've got rewarded for the deck, and people with the hate haven't, basically. Yeah, it's a fair assessment, but not random like it normally is. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it from me.
Thank you all for the continued support. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please do not forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local pauper community, and even your opponents. Don't forget to be nice to them too. Always good to be nice. That is all from us at Casting Commons. Until next time, and don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace!
Bye.